Hi, welcome back to a new episode of Retro Game Revival. And as you can see, today I've got a NeoGeo AES. Now, I'm going to try and keep this intro a bit short. I've actually already opened this one up. It came without any screws attached, and yeah, I had to build myself a BIOS in order to be able to boot this and diagnose it a bit. So what I've found is that when you put any power in, it does actually reach this board over here, which is the voltage regulator, but it gives no power out. So I'm pretty sure that there's going to be something wrong with this board. And the beauty of it is that it detaches really, really simple. So let me set up the camera a bit different. We're going to focus on this and talk more about it. So this is the isolated power board. What this does is as it says on here, not sure if you can see, yeah, you should be able to. So it takes ground and input, runs it through this, and it goes out. And it should be a clean 5-volt signal, but instead we're getting nothing. So I looked at this and I saw an opportunity for me to, work a bit on my skills. So what I've made here is, using KiCad, gone to PCBWay and ordered a whole bunch of replacement boards that I've made myself. This uses a slightly different, nice glare, this is using a slightly different power circuitry, and I actually want to talk about that and some of the design choices that I've made on this and sort of explain why I made certain choices. So let's focus on that for a second and talk more. Talking about the power regulator board here, so the original, which I have here, the green thing here is actually a NEC A1442, which is a transistor that handles the switching step down of the power so that you get the 5-volt the circuitry needs. Fun fact is that the Famicom, the Twin Famicom made by Sharp, also uses that same circuitry on their power regulation, and I've actually have a Twin Fami that's failed in the exact same reason. So that made me think like I should try and see if I can do a better circuit for that. Now thinking about this, it might actually be interesting to do a similar board for the Twin Famicom replacement. So yeah, if you'd like to see that, put that in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Anyway, moving on. So initially, and I'll show a picture on one of the designs I did. So initially I thought I could just use a 7805 to convert the power from 9 to 12, whatever, and give 5-volt clean out. However, I talked to Gadget about this, and he had mentioned that he tried something similar on a MVS 1FZ, and he had bad experience with both the heat that's going to be transferred from that thing into the board, as well as a pretty high voltage drop. He said he couldn't reach any more than 4.5 volts at, I think it was 1.5 amp peak. So what I am going to be using, now I've got this big box of parts that I've been waiting on for shipping, yeah, that's why this video took a while to get. But I have here, if the glare isn't as terrible, I have the LM2576, which is a 3 amp buck regulator that is going to be providing the power. The 7805 could do 1.5 to 2 amps, and it would dump about 6 to 8 watts of heat, either into a heatsink, which you've got little place for a proper heatsink, or using the board as a heatsink, which isn't ideal either. So that made me realize I should try and use a circuit that's properly made for these kind of applications. What I'm going to be doing next, and I think it might be a cool montage, is actually solder all these onto this board, and we're going to install it and give it a go. One of the things I have about 10 of these now. One thing I did fail to do in the initial design is that the holes for the connector, which I have over here, the holes were slightly too small. So I actually used a hand drill bit in order to drill these out. That means though that the bottom and the top aren't connected with the original via anymore. So I'm going to need to make sure that the top and bottom are soldered onto the circuit itself. But it's a huge ground plane. Most of these traces are. So that should be fine. And yeah, just got to ensure that those sides are soldered properly. And then I am going to move on to the montage. Alright, so I've fully assembled it now, and I've hooked up, temporarily hook up to a 9-volt battery, or a 9-volt adapter, plugged into the wall. It's currently not on yet, so I'm going to try and do this live. So I hooked up the input as well as the ground, so I'm hoping that this doesn't actually blow up when we plug it in. If it blows the fuses, then this is going to be a short video. So let's plug it in and see what happens. So far so good. Not seeing any magic smoke released or anything burning or overheating. So let's take the multimeter and see what values we're getting out of it. Just turning on the backlight so you can have a look-see at what values I'm reading out here. Sorry, I'm going to have to walk around the camera for a moment here. So we should be getting around 9 volts on the input, which is over here. 9.5 volts, yeah, that seems about right. So we should get about 5 volts on output. This is without a load, so it might be a little over, but let's see. That seems spot on. So yeah, I call that a success. What I'm going to be doing now is going to put this into the NeoGeo AES itself and plug that into a television and see if it now actually does work, or if we've got more problems that we need to solve. Alright, so I've got it hooked up to the TV. I don't have the power plugged in yet. I was going to do that on camera together with you. So let's see what's going to happen. I'm hoping it's going to work, obviously, but it's only one way to find out. So let me plug in the power. Oh, and it actually booted. Let me turn the camera around a bit because looking at this, it does seem we have some problem. Also, let me turn it down for a moment. So it does seem like we've got some problem with something yet, but at least it's starting, and actually that means that the board that we've made works. So that's a really, really nice, well, start of it. I'm not seeing any graphics, so I'm going to have to put in the diagnostics ROM, and we'll take it from there. Alright, so the diagnostics BIOS is in. Let's see. So it's, it's immediately detecting a problem. Address 4014. Was it 400,014? So yeah, that tells me that palette bank 0 data. There's something wrong with either I think a MUX or memory itself. So see if this is actually the same. This address 400,000. If we reset a couple times. Yeah. So it seems to be in there. I'm gonna read up on SMK Dan's website what part of the board that actually is, and we'll take it back to the workbench and replace some memory. Right, so I've done some further digging into some of the issues that I was seeing earlier, and I was looking up the website from Dan for the diagnostics BIOS, and what I'd found is that the error that we were seeing related to the 68K data bus. So I naturally looked around the area a bit. I did some more testing, and I found that the low VRAM data bus, or the address bus, was also giving me errors when looking at the other tests that you can do with the diagnostics BIOS. So I looked around the area for memory here, and then I noticed something very interesting with the LSPC2. Let me try and get this a bit better on camera. You know what? Let me actually grab my macro lens and get down to this chip. I think we're onto something. Hold on. So yeah, as you may be able to tell, it looks like somebody's been in here before. Let me try and get another shot. There's actually a bridge there. I did look up the IC, and that is a not connected pin, so that shouldn't have been a problem. But there's some jankiness going on with these traces. So I think either this IC has a fracture inside or something, shorted on this internally, and somebody else tried to fix it before I got to it. The traces themselves are fine, so I did some continuity testing there. I don't believe that to be a problem, but yeah, this doesn't look good. So I think I may need to get me my MVS out, and I have a broken one that has a B1 chip that's not working anymore, from which I can probably steal the LSPC2 and replace it on this. So yeah, let's do that. So yeah, just a little more thinking. As I was getting issues with multiple places of memory, that's why it led me to believe this is wrong. This controls the area of memory that I believe are these and these two. And as well, it sits on the 68K, that's the main processor. It sits on the same bus, and it controls everything related to sprites. We were seeing the fixed layer being fine, but the sprites were given an issue. So again, that's why I think it's an issue with this controller IC and not the memory itself. Let me grab this. So, like I mentioned, I have an old MV1FZ, which I believe the B1 is broken, and it had an LSPC2 here, which, if shadow works with me, you can see I very cleanly pulled off. I actually have it right here. And next step is going to be removing this. I'm going to clean up the pads, then we'll do another macro shot to see if any damage or something has occurred in the area, and then we'll reattach this. I'm going to remove that off camera, and I'm assuming the next shot is going to be a macro one again, focusing on that area. Like I said, we're back with a macro shot, and there was a filter capacitor very close by that sadly was a casualty. I wanted to remove it beforehand, but applying heat to one leg, it just snapped off. So I'll find a replacement for that. More importantly, if I look over to where we've seen damage before, and especially at the end here, yeah, you can see one of the traces. I'm trying to stabilize the shot. Hold on. This is quite difficult doing it by hand, so I'm sorry about that. But there we go. One of the traces got lifted, and I'm not sure if it was connected. It's connected internally, but I'm not sure if previously the leg of that IC was connected properly, so that could have actually been an issue. Other than that, it looks pretty decent all the way around. Some tiny bits of exposed trace, but nothing that has me worried. The pool was very clean. I did clean up the area afterwards, as you can see. But should be no problem installing the new LSPC2 that I've pulled from the MVS onto this board now. So I'm going to do that next, and then I'll hook it up back to the TV and see if that fixes things for us. Alright, so I've put it back on there, and I just wanted to show off a bit, honestly. I am very pleased with the result. Let's just go around and see if we can spot any bridges that may have accidentally occurred. As you can see, I've put a new cap in here. This is a 100 nanofarad bypass capacitor. And yeah, all the legs seems to have stuck on pretty well. Like I said, I'm pretty pleased with the result. There's some fibers left there from cleaning up, but that's not going to be a problem. Yeah. Again, I'm happy with this, and this pin over here was the previous one that we seen that didn't look that great. Looks fine to me now. I checked it, it's actually a ground pad, and it was internally connected to somewhere over here. Yeah, let's hook it up to the TV and see if this has fixed our problems. Alright, so moment of truth. I've hooked it up to the TV, and let's see what's going to happen. Well, that's not great. I'm not seeing anything. Oh. I think that's not working. Could be the game that's not inserted correctly. Let's try that again. Well, I hear the game, but I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, I don't think that's correct. All right, well, I guess we're back to the drawing board then. So what I'm just realizing is that the LSPC2 that we pulled from the MVS could be broken on its own. So yeah, I have another AES that has, I think, a broken LSPC2 as well that partially works. So I'm going to pull that and install it and see if we can replicate the same issues from the other AES onto this. That'll give us a better clue whether or not that's the problem. Because the other AES on the diagnostics BIOS doesn't give us any errors. So we're not having the problems reported that we did have here. And if it then still gives us errors in the diagnostics BIOS, that means that we have a problem with the memory and not the memory controller, if that makes sense. So let's get the other one out, install it, and we'll reconvene here. So as you can see by my beautiful reflection, I've set up again. This time I've replaced the LSPC2 on this board, and let's turn it on, and I'll show you what happens now. So there's still some issues. It's showing more actually than on the previous one. This is the broken one from my other system, and as you can see, it has some problems with, like, I think it's odd and even lines. So there's definitely something else going on. This is the fixed layer that seems to be partially working, which is what I've seen in the other AES as well. So yeah, this one in particular does need a LSPC2 replacement, but I actually believe there is another problem, and I think there is something memory related, but I can't put it in the diagnostics until the LSPC2 has been fixed, because otherwise it will return wrong address values and it'll give us a red herring to chase, which I don't want to do. So as you can see, if it goes into attract mode here, you can actually see all the sprites somehow end up in the bottom or the top left corner, which I think is the 0, position. So there is something in memory causing the sprites not to get their proper location, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm saying there is something else wrong on top of the sprites not being displayed correctly with some part of memory. I need to cut this video short again as well. I'm very sorry, but there will be a part 3, so that's a good thing. I will be trying to hunt down some LSPC2 replacement ICs so that I can now fix both of my AESs. And once we get that in, we'll need to look at which memory on this AES is broken. I'm fairly certain it will fix the other one. So that at least is going to be hopefully a quick video. So I want to thank you all for joining in again. I hope you've enjoyed these series so far. I'm having fun, trying to figure out all the problems. It's a bit frustrating that, the replacement I thought was working was broken, but that's how things go sometimes, sadly. And it simply means that it'll take longer to fix, but I'm not in a hurry. I enjoy tinkering around with these machines, and on top of that, the power board replacement I've made for this one, I'm really proud of. So if anyone else actually has a broken power board on their AES, then please feel free to contact me. I'm contemplating putting up like a what do you call it, Etsy store or Tindy to start selling these, because I think it may be very beneficial to other DIY people to have this available to them. Anyways, for now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do like it, please consider subscribing or leaving me a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, feel free to post them in the comments down below. I read all of them. I try to answer each and every question, but yeah, sometimes with my day job, you know, it's hard to find the time to do this. I've actually taken days off in order to start tinkering around with this, just because, yeah, I really wanted to do this and I want to be more consistent in uploading videos. So let's hope this year I can make do on that promise. Anyway, thanks a lot and bye for now.